Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on three. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. We're continuing the position group review. You can see by the title, talking about the tackles. Got a big man in here to talk about the tackles with me. That's Chris, just joking. Chris from the Deep Cover Pod. What's going on, man? I know you were going to come around sooner or later, and I'd love to have you here, man.
Yeah, man. You know, I like to go on my little hiatus every now and then, but you made the call, and I got to come through for my guy.
That's right, man. You got the receiver gloves, it looks like, hanging up behind you. You look ready to go, man. Look ready to go. It looks like a Lamar poster there in the background, a little fantasy football stuff. Yeah, man, your background's good. The background's really nice, and it's just nice to have you on the show. So let's talk about these tackles, man. Let's jump right into it. I want to talk about Ronnie Stanley first because there's really not much that we can say. There's not much analysis to be had. Just the quick story, Ronnie got hurt, I want to say like week 6, week 7, week 8, somewhere in 2020. Serious injury. We've only seen him for one game since. He tried to play week 1, made it through the whole game last year. He looked okay to me, but decided he needed another surgery. And here we are at OTAs, and he's not practicing. So, Chris, probably the most important position on the team other than quarterback. And the Ravens have a big question mark on there, and there's really not much we can glean into Ronnie's situation at this point.
Yeah, man. Right now, all we could do is just go by what they say and just cross our fingers. EDC said, I think like a month before the draft, that Ronnie was ahead of where he was the prior season as far as his recovery. And this second one is supposed to be, the end all be all for the surgery. So it's really supposed to be, quote unquote, fixed now. So let's see. Hopefully the recovery's going well. And like you said, man, it'll be huge to have him back, because to put him there, even at 80%, that would be huge, because 80% of Ronnie Stanley is still better than a lot of these tackles in the NFL. So it'll be huge to have him back in any way.
It sure is. And even if he comes back and he's 80%, I would expect him to be at 90% in the future, and then hopefully get back to close to where he was. But just a great, great player and centerpiece for this offense. We saw how bad it hurt us last year. So really not much else we could say on Ronnie Stanley, but the Ravens did address the position heavily through free agency, through the draft, and even picking up Juwan James last year as a lottery ticket with little risk. So I feel pretty good about the tackle position overall, Chris. Could you just give your overall thoughts on the group as a whole before we dig into them one by one?
Yeah, man, I think, and this is, if you go back to some of the draft shows and, just some things that I've posted on the timeline, is Eric DeCosta. He shows that whenever something is a weakness from the prior season, he's going to attack it in that offseason. And we saw that this year as well. Like, he re-signed Mekari. Well, he extended Mekari. He signed Moses. They have Juwan James there in case, anything happens. They drafted Faalele. So it's like there are contingency plans in place. If this happens, all right, we got this guy that could slot in there. If this happens, all right, we have this plan. So there's, like my man Kerry Stevenson says, insurance for your insurance. So he has backup plans for no matter what happens this time. And we're not going to see, a replay of last year where they're having dudes coming off the street to have to play tackle, or have a Alejandro Villanueva situation where it's just a turnstile on Lamar's blind side.
And as a longtime Ravens fan, Chris, I mean, this is different for us, as far as, there were times where we had 2 good tackles, 2 really good tackles, but then, we had a player like James Hurst as the backup who was okay, but there really wasn't much else in the room. Now we're looking at all these guys who could potentially play tackle, and it makes me feel a little more comforted, especially with, one of your best players, Ronnie Stanley's status way up in the air. So where do you want to go first, Chris? We talked about Mekari on the IOL show I had with Gabe, but I think he's worth mentioning here in the tackle show. We could talk about Morgan Moses. Who comes to your mind, especially when it comes to that left tackle spot?
I'm going to say Mekari, because he's the most natural left tackle they have in terms of how long he played the position for and his natural position. He came into the league he came in from Cal as an undrafted left tackle. So Morgan Moses, we already tried that, where it's If you take a guy who's predominantly been a right tackle and you want to move him. So what we did last year was we took Alejandro Villanueva, who was a left tackle, and we tried him out at right tackle. And that was a terrible idea because he looked even worse at right tackle than he did at left tackle for that one game that he played. So I feel
Right.
like let's just leave these guys where they belong. Like let's let them play where they've been comfortable at for their careers. I know Mekari, he hasn't played left tackle in the NFL, but I feel like give him a shot. Let him prove that he can't play. Don't just say, no, he has small arms, he can't do this, he can't do that. Let him show us that he can't do it first before we just say that he can't just for measurable reasons. Um,
Yes.
I do think Morgan Moses, though, he is that guy who can offer some versatility because he has played left tackle in the NFL before. But what my thinking is let's just plant him at right tackle. Like, let's not move him around. Let's not do any of this stuff. Let's just have that solidified so you could have, Morgan Moses, Zeitler, Linderbaum, whoever wins that left guard, and then let's just say hopefully Ronnie, and if not Ronnie, then Mekari at left tackle.
And this is the part that I really want to hear from fans, anybody comment, because Chris, like you said, I could see the argument both ways. I could see, okay, Mekari, natural feet, left tackle feet. If you remember, I could have used your bet. I could have used you last year because I was talking about, man, we can put a tight end over right tackle. Let's move Mekari to left tackle and get AV the heck out of there because the quarterback's blind side is something you can't prepare for, especially with a quarterback like Lamar. If he gets pressure off the right tackle and he can see it, he can manage that better than his blind side. So where were you last year? First of all, Chris, you could have had my back a little bit on that. I was out on the limb, but there's an argument, in all seriousness, there's an argument to say, look, if Ronnie can't go, let Mekari, see how he does over there. Like you said, you'll have continuity with Morgan Moses, who we know can play good right tackle. But there's also the argument to where Morgan Moses has played left tackle, has played it pretty effectively. And then you have other options at right tackle like Faalele, Juwan James is practicing. So I could kind of see it both ways, man. Like I can make an argument for either side. So it'll be interesting to me in preseason, Chris, if Ronnie Stanley isn't running with the ones, if they're still trying to preserve him, and this is like a I don't know, game day decision per se. We're not going to run Ronnie out there until the first week or a couple of weeks before practice. How the Ravens handle that, man. So do you have any like odds or like a strong preference there as far as what to do at left tackle, or can you see both sides of the argument?
Yeah, I could definitely. You always got to be flexible with it. You can't just be pigeonholed into one spot. Um, but what the team has shown is that they want to keep guys in the same place. Like they don't want to be moving guys around on the line. Um, they unfortunately, due to the last two seasons, they've had to shuffle the line because of injuries. But predominantly, what we've seen for over a decade is they like to keep guys in one spot. They don't want to shuffle dudes around. So that's my thinking when it comes to the right tackle position. Is they have Morgan Moses, Juwan James. He hasn't played meaningful football since I think 2019. So I'm not too sure we could really count on him to be a starting right tackle until he proves that he could stay healthy.
And it's
So
to your point, Chris. Sorry to interrupt. Is actually
um,
he's only played 3 games since 2018.
2018. So
Yes.
that's even worse. So, but he has been working out with the team since last season, so that's good for him. And he's at OTAs, so that bodes well for him. So hopefully he could come back and regain some of that form when he earned that big contract.
The reason I kind of like Morgan Moses as a left or right tackle, maybe left tackle, is because you're talking about that continuity. There's an argument to be made that Mekari might be next man up at center or might be next man up at right guard, depending on if we can keep Cologne, if we keep Powers on, who else is on the line with us. So, again, a lot of uncertainty, but with Mekari, it's just such a solid player. I'm glad we paid him. Said on the last O-line show, I would rather pay $5 million, $6 million to Mekari than $5-6 million to like a Sammy Watkins or somebody who's really not moving the needle at receiver. Have that depth on the O-line, especially after what we've been through, especially last year. And we can't have Lamar getting hit, and we can't have Lamar not even getting hit, but he goes into Superman mode when he's forced to go into Superman mode when the line's breaking down. So give Lamar Jackson a quality offensive line, and you're going to see the dividends pay. So I'm really happy with Patrick Mekari. So we talked a little bit about Morgan Moses, but I wanted to get into him a little bit as a player, his skill set. Now, he's played 8 years in the league. He's played every game 7 years straight, Chris. So you're talking about a durable player, a guy who's willing to play through pain. I mean, as you know, Chris, just because you played all them games don't mean you ain't hurting. I mean, this man's gone through some banged up injuries. Compare him to a guy like Ronnie Stanley, who's never played a full season, and since 2016 when he was drafted. Says a lot for Morgan Moses, his durability. He said every game in 7 years straight, and he's not a bum out there. He's a quality tackle, especially at right tackle.
Yeah, man, and that's something that we needed on this team is reliable guys who can stay healthy. Because last year we know the rash of injuries that we had. So to have guys that have that type of resume and that type of consistency to stay healthy and actually be on the field is huge. So whether he's starting the season at left tackle or he's starting the season at right tackle, I think he's a guy that we could write in pen as a starter on this line along with Kevin Zeitler, who probably those are the only two guys who you can. I mean, and Linderbaum too, but those are probably the only three guys that you could say for sure will be starting on the offensive line come week 1.
And Chris, you're a big tape guy like me. I love having you on this show. One of the things that surprised me when I studied Morgan Moses was how mobile he was after 8 years in the league. He's a big guy. He's a tackle. You don't really associate big tackles with mobility, but Morgan Moses can move. I saw him out in space blocking. I saw him on screen passes, getting there blocking. Do you think if we have a tackle pair? I mean, Mekari can move too. So it seems like with Stanley, with Moses, with Mekari, maybe not so much Faalele and James, but there's a chance that we could have two tackles playing that are very, very mobile compared to what we have had in the past. Do you think that could open up maybe the screen game or maybe even some more diverse run schemes?
I think so for sure, and I think with the drafting of Tyler Linderbaum, you see that, and I think they'll have to do that in order to utilize the kind of skill set that Linderbaum has because he does so many unique things that you just don't see from a center that you kind of have to use that as a weapon and utilize that because if you don't, you're just wasting him. If you're like, all right, just line
Yeah.
up and do exactly what what's the dude's name? Bozeman did. Do exactly what Bozeman did. You're kind of wasting Linderbaum. So I think we need to see that screen game, even though it's been like I don't know, like 10, 12 years since the Ravens had a decent screen game. So hopefully this is the year where they could, bring it out and really just get these guys in space and get them moving because if you can add the screen game to this offense with how much attention Lamar gets, it's going to be dangerous, man.
Yeah, I love the Morgan Moses signing, and I heard people screaming and yelling for a left tackle to sign a left tackle. But if you're a left tackle, Chris, you wouldn't want to come to Baltimore to potentially sit behind Rodney Stanley. And if you're the Ravens, you're not going to pay somebody left tackle money to potentially be a backup. So Morgan Moses to me was the perfect mix, a dependable right tackle. You didn't have to break the bank for him. He's under contract. He will be your best right tackle from the start. Odds are. Uh, and he gives you that security blanket at left tackle. So I think that was just a really solid move. We've seen Morgan Moses too. I think it's worth it to point out on some pretty poor O lines, some pretty poor teams, some pretty poor quarterback play. And despite all that, he's graded really well. So I was really excited, Chris, to see Morgan Moses in an offense like the Ravens with some better players around him, better quarterback around him, and really see him not have to do too much, just try to play his game and not worry about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, especially being next to a guy that's as solid as Kevin Zeitler. We heard him talking on I think he was on Cole Jackson's show.
Yeah, he's on with Cole.
Yeah, two guys watching football. So, and he stated like how good Mekari is. Like he was like, "Yo, this one of the best dudes I've ever played with as far as a right tackle." And when you hear them talk about like how that relationship is between a guard and a tackle is so important. So to have two veteran guys like Zeitler and Moses be able to line up next to each other is going to be huge, and just to have that continuity going into the season, it's something that we haven't had in a while. So I'm excited to see that.
Me too. Me too. So, overall, it's a good group of tackles. Like I said, one of the deepest group of tackles that we've had in some time. And Ronnie is a big question mark. What about the rookie? Now we both scouted him pretty heavily. Daniel Faalele. Chris, I'm gonna make a bold statement. I'm gonna make a bold statement. And leave it to you. I feel like, yeah, he's probably got some work to do and all that, but like in the run blocking just by itself. I think that he's probably the best run blocker that we have at right tackle, like right now, because it's not just his size, it's how quick his feet are, Chris, how he's able to move his feet while he's engaged. Just some devastating. And then on those down blocks and combo blocks, man, he is just knocking people off their feet. Like he's not just a big guy who doesn't use his size. He uses his size, but the bonus with Faalele is those Fred Flintstone feet, man. He's got them. And, of course, he's going to have some work to do in pass protection. Pass protection is crucial. But I just love his run blocking, Chris.
Yeah, one of the things I liked the most about him was his feet, because when you look at his size, you're like, damn, this dude's 6'8", 6'9", 380 pounds. You're expecting a slug out there. You're expecting a dude with cement on his feet, and it's the complete opposite. Like you could tell he grew up playing a different sport. You could tell he was a rugby player or played soccer just because of the way he moves, and you see that on tape a lot. And you can't teach that. You just have that as a kid, and you grow up with that. You cannot teach that kind of footwork. So, and that's actually something that made me think, he could possibly develop into a left tackle too if you give him some time this season. I think, because to me that's the most important thing, is your footwork and your ability to move, and as far as redirecting and shifting your weight, those are the most important things for a tackle. And I think with some seasoning, of course, because he's still really, really green. He's only been playing football for about 4 years, so he
Right.
still has a lot to learn. But right now, he's like a huge, huge mountain of clay, and the Ravens are the sculptors who have been able to, make so many offensive tackles in this league, and not even just offensive tackles, offensive guards too. Been able to mold these later round guys, mid round guys, and turn them into players who end up being the top paid guys at their positions. So I think we could see something similar with him, because his natural talent is far and above higher than a lot of these mid round guys that they've taken in the past. So I think he could play left tackle if they want him to. Maybe not
That,
this season, but in the future. I mean,
that's an interesting take. I haven't heard anybody say that out loud, but I could see it too, Chris, because like you said, his size is going to work for him as far as, okay, if I'm a speed rusher, or it's just going to be harder to go around him. He's wide, he's long, and then of course he's got the feet that he can trust to where, Chris, he don't have to overcommit and worry about getting burned. Like somebody's going to have to take the long way around. There's no reason for him to really overcommit. But I now that you mention it, I'm kind of surprised at Minnesota. Maybe it was because of his lack of experience playing football that they didn't try him at left tackle. Because you often see guys who are going to transition to right tackle where they're the best college tackle on their team. They're playing left tackle. So maybe Minnesota was doing him a solid, saying, "Look, a guy this big, teams are going to see him as a right tackle only, and let him play at right tackle." But that's interesting. Like I could see it. There's been, he's one of the biggest guys ever drafted, I believe. Like when they announced his size and weight and all that, it was like maybe the biggest person ever drafted. But he is just so light on his feet. I wish I could put up college highlights over our faces here, Chris, to show the people at home just what we're talking about. But just to paint a picture for the folks at home, I saw a lot of blocks, and you know what the Ravens will do. The right tackle will have somebody lined up right outside their right hip. Okay, so try to follow me, guys. They'll have a 5 tech just standing right there outside the right tackle's right hip. They'll have a tight end. The tight end will chip on that guy, and the right tackle will go around and try to seal him so the running back can come behind him. Now, what we saw with Orlando Brown, really good at those blocks. But the thing with Orlando Brown is he didn't have the feet with Faalele, as like Faalele did. So he would often lose contain as the play moved downfield. And when I see Faalele run those seal blocks where he's trying to seal the right side and let the running back come behind him, his feet are moving so quick that as the guy's trying to get away from him to make the tackle, he's keeping up with him, keeping an arm on him, and keeping that guy away from the pile. Like, it's really impressive on those seal blocks, and we've seen that a lot, or the right tackle asked to execute those a lot in Greg Roman's run scheme.
Yeah, and I think with him, it's just gonna be time. Like I have no questions about him physically and him being able to actually do the things that are asked of a NFL left tackle or right tackle for that matter. But my thing is, he just needs more seasoning because he's just so green. Like you could see him at the Senior Bowl, and they're coaching him up, and his head is just spinning. Like he's seeing speed that he hasn't seen before. He's going through things, being taught techniques he's probably never seen before, and that's a lot for a young guy to take in. So I think it'll be about a year or two until we can really see him hit that potential that we're excited to see him hit. I don't think it's going to be year one because I think what they wanted, their plan is to bring him along slowly, and they have him there just in case, so you don't have to have a practice squad guy playing. So he obviously can play this year, but I think the plan with him it would be to let him sit, let him season for a little bit, and then next year hopefully we have a better, not thinking so much of what to do, what technique should I do, when it becomes secondary nature to him. And then next season, I think we can really see a really, really hopefully dominant right tackle or left tackle.
I think so too. I think he's got it in him. Just the fact that he's made the strides already. And yes, Chris, in the Senior Bowl, I think that's where his stock dropped. I thought he would be maybe a second, maybe third round player. I thought third round was probably the most reasonable. Dropped all the way to the fourth round. I forget who the guy was from Kentucky, but he was an inside linebacker, outside linebacker hybrid. He was going like 240, 250. And of course, Faalele is 380, 370, 380. And this guy got Faalele off balance a little bit and bull rushed him to the ground, like went right through him a couple of times. And it was a little disturbing. It's like, man, how the heck are you getting bull rushed and basically pancaked from a guy that's over 100 pounds lighter than you? So, so Faalele, I think in the pass protection is really going to need to be refined, especially Chris, you're talking about if he's a right tackle, TJ Watt's going to be lined up against him, or they'll move Myles Garrett to that side. Trey Hendrickson. I mean, we have some really good pass rushers, not only in the AFC, but in our division. So Faalele, if he is, we'll say this though, if he is put into action with others healthy, that would be a great sign, wouldn't it? Like week 10, you just can't keep this kid on the bench anymore. It's like, all right, but if it's through injury, I would be nervous with his play. Whereas if he just storms on the scene and they can't keep him on the bench anymore because he's one of their best five, I mean, that would be, like you said, you're not really expecting it, but that would be like, I would say the ceiling for him. You know what I mean? The best expected outcome is that everybody's healthy and we just can't keep Daniel Faalele on the bench by week 8. We want him in there mauling people. And then you got him healthy, coming in fresh midway through the season to finish out. You got a guy like Morgan Moses, potentially on the bench. A little bit, like I said, far-fetched scenario there, but that would be like my best case for Daniel Faalele.
Yeah, and then the other thing is about that, like where you said he was getting bull rushed at the Senior Bowl. That goes along with it, where they're teaching you a specific way, like, hey, set your feet like this, place your hands like this. So when your guys are coming at you, when these defenders are coming at you, you're trying to remember, all right, they want me to do it like this, not the way that I want to do it, the way that I'm being taught right now to do it. And then it's like, oh, then you end up on your ass. And it's like, all right, and that's where you see the gears spinning in a player's head and they start to become overwhelmed. And, you expect those kind of things with young players and especially guys who've been playing for about 4 years now. So, like I said, man, I hope they can bring them along quickly. They have the coaching staff to do it because they've been able to really, really develop these guys. You got Ricky Wagner who was there. We have just a long list. Jared Gaither before, if you want to go even further. of guys who were later round dudes, even undrafted guys who they've been able to just mold into these really, really solid players.
Agreed, agreed. And I think Faalele could get extended action in the preseason. Somebody's going to have to play there. And I think it would be good for him to get NFL action against
Hmm.
other teams, twos and threes and things like that, just to kind of, the scheme that he's going to be facing, schemes will be vanilla. The other opposing defensive coordinators aren't emptying out their defensive playbooks and bringing all kinds of exotic blitzes usually. So just get him up against another NFL player,
Yep.
and let him practice and practice. And the Ravens are in a position now where they don't have to try to keep anybody that they might need in bubble wrap. But they can develop Faalele instead of saying, "Hey, we don't want to take any chances. We need him week 1 as the starter because of
Right.
the other guys." So the only guy we haven't talked about extensively is Juwan James. He hasn't seen action, as I mentioned, since 2018, except for 3 games since. He You give $3 million in savings if he's cut. That's before you replace him. So really, you're going to save a little over $2 million if you do cut him, and it's only a $250,000 dead cap hit. So very low risk. That's what I was saying. All that adds up to say very low risk. But Chris, I remember, both of us are, old heads in the scouting department. But I like Juwan James coming out because he seems to fit the Ravens scheme very well. The player that he was before all these injuries have derailed his career.
Yeah, and that's been the main thing with him throughout his career is injuries. The Dolphins signed him, and he had an up and down career with them because of injuries. And then he was finally able to stay healthy, earned a big contract, played well. Then he got injured again, and there was some bad luck mixed in there too. We had the COVID season. Then unfortunately, he got hurt training by himself away from the team facility, which led from him to get released by the Broncos, which was a little bit of a dirty move from them. Then the Ravens brought him on, which was, like you said earlier, really smart, low risk. You have him in your building for a full season. You have him working around your guys, working around your team. He didn't practice. He did light practicing, but he didn't really practice the way, NFL teams like to do. But still, he was around. You got to see his work ethic. You got to see what he was like. Now, the big boy time is coming up. Now it's OTAs. He's in there.
He's in
So
there.
now it's on him to stay healthy, and then let's see where this goes. Hopefully, he can stay healthy, and we have a battle. I don't want it to just be Morgan Moses. He's the starter. Duh. No, I want it to be like, whoa, we brought in Morgan Moses, but Juwan James is looking like Juwan James did before the injuries. That's how I want it to be. I don't want it to, just be a landslide. I want the best guys there. I want them to all be performing at the top of their games. And right now, he doesn't really have any excuses because he's been working out, not rehabbing from an injury. So it's time to put up or shut up because this might be his last go around.
That's right. It seems like it has to be his last go around. If he gets hurt again, then it's going to be hard, considering the contract that the Ravens signed him to, for him to get any kind of guarantees, well, from another team. But yeah, he started practicing at the end of last year, but like you said, it was just kind of light stuff. No one expected him to come back. And then here he is, Chris, at OTAs out there. Coach Harbaugh said he looked like he was moving good. Of course, coaches tend to say positive things about every player this time of year, so there's not much to glean. But Chris, like, the one thing I can take away from OTAs, the only thing I can take away is who is out there practicing. Like, they're going to say nice things about all their players, and oh, we like this group, we love this group. But so I can't take away I can't take away much from what I consider the coaches blowing smoke. But when the guy is suited up and there's actual video of him on the practice field and he's coming off an injury, that tells me that he's healthy enough to practice. He's getting his cardio in shape, he's getting all the sea legs back under him. So when it comes time for the big boy football and putting the pads on, it'll be interesting to see what Juwan James has because, Chris, he comes from Tennessee, he played in the SEC. He's been in the league, he's bounced around a little bit. And if he's still hanging in there, Chris, if he still wants to play football after everything that's happened to him these last 4 years or so, that tells me that, I don't think it's about money. It's about obviously the money's nice, but this guy wants to play ball, bro. He wants to play ball. He could have just took his millions and hung them up. But 4 years later, he's still hanging in there. He's still trying to redeem himself in his own mind, probably, and make a name for himself and leave the game on his own terms. So there's a lot of I don't know, intangible factors here working that I'm kind of liking, Chris. A lot of them.
Yeah, man. And right now, I mean, it's never been about skill with him. It's always been about the health. So that's the main part. Let's get him through training camp. Let's get him, let's get him to the season, and let's see what he could do. Because, like I said, it's put up or shut up time for him. This is the last go around, and they obviously they have a need at that right tackle spot. It's not just going to be given to Morgan Moses. So it's up there, and the best guy will win. So he has to stay healthy in order to be able to perform at what they want him, well, what they expected from him.
So, Chris, just to wrap it up here, just a tremendous job by Eric DeCosta, in my opinion, on this offensive line. It was the build a wall for Lamar. As you mentioned earlier, DeCosta seems to attack the weaknesses pretty heavily. When it was wide receivers, well, I can't get anybody to come here. I'm trying. Can't get anybody to come here. What am I going to do? I'm going to spend high draft picks on receivers. Now here he is doing the same on the offensive line through free agency and just trying to get everybody back. You look at me, you mentioned 5 guys tonight, Chris, that could play offensive line. And when Mekari's like the afterthought, should we even have him in the show? And he was probably your best tackle last year. Well, he was your best tackle last year. We're sitting here thinking whether we even need him at tackle. To me, Chris, that just screams we're in a good spot, man. The thing is, Chris, there's only one Ronnie Stanley. He was an all-pro for a reason. He wasn't just an all-pro because Lamar was running the ball and that offense set all kinds of records. I mean, Ronnie Stanley can do every single thing you ask him to do at a high level. So to me, Chris, and he's got that trust with Lamar, Chris. If Ronnie, Lamar knows if Ronnie's getting bull rushed a little bit, that if Ronnie will eventually settle that down, and Lamar knows he can still hang in there and make a throw. So for me, man, I just want to see Ronnie healthy. But if Ronnie is not healthy, I feel like with the options that we have here, Chris, that we can have at least a solid play at right tackle or left tackle, and one of these guys is going to emerge and be a good right tackle.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Ronnie, that's the main question right now that's just looming over the whole organization is how is Ronnie going to bounce back? Is Ronnie going to bounce back? But if he does, like you said, man, that solidifies so much on that offensive line. It's amazing how one guy could just make so many problems just disappear like that. And it'll be great, man, because the only question mark after that would be left guard, whether it's Phillips, whether it's Cleveland. But at that point, it wouldn't even matter because, you got Ronnie there. So it's just everything is on him. But like you said, if he's not there, I feel like they did a good job, too, of, having, all right, Morgan Moses, you're going to be our left tackle. All right, Juwan James, you're going to be our right tackle. Or Mekari, you're going to be our left tackle. Or you're going to be our right tackle. There are options there. It's not like last year where you're scrambling, where it's like, oh, damn, Alejandro Villanueva, you're going to be our right tackle. Oh, no, you're going to be our left tackle now. Oh, damn, he sucks at
Where's Phillips again? Where's Tyree Phillips again? Right, it's just so unfair, man. Yeah.
You have tackles who can play tackle. That's what you know. You have tackles who can play tackle. So let's roll with that, and hopefully Ronnie comes back.
It's going to be a different looking offense this year for sure with no Hollywood, the emergence of Bateman. Hopefully, JK and Gus are back. We got a young man in Tyler Beatty I really like. Nick Boyle looked like he was in different shape when I saw him at the press conference. Nick Boyle coming back will change this offense. I mean, remember 2020, Chris, when Ronnie Stanley and Nick Boyle were healthy, how different that offense operated. It was like, man, we lost those 2 guys and we had to change the offense. And then early last year, we saw bombs away Lamar leading the league in air yards while still upping his completion percentage, which doesn't make sense, Chris. Usually the deeper you keep throwing the ball, your completion percentage goes down. We saw that progress from Lamar just, hitting bombs and being really accurate downfield. So there's a lot to be excited about with this offense. I just feel like, Chris, if there's one position that can derail the team the fastest, it's left tackle. And, we just need to get good play from the left tackle. If we get good play from the left tackle, Chris, this offense is going to be more than okay. It's going to be a good offense.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, look at last year. The offensive line was in shambles, and Lamar was doing Lamar type things. They couldn't run the ball to save their lives. I don't think that's going to happen again.
Right.
They have everybody coming back in that room. They have, like you mentioned, Gus. They have what's his name? Damn, I'm blanking on his name.
Mike Davis.
Yeah, Mike Davis. There we go. They brought in Davis. So, like, they have Tyler Beatty. So, it's going to be fun to see because last year, you have Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, who I forgot they even had. And it's like, damn. Like, and especially behind that offensive line, too, which was creating no holes. Now, coming in this season, it's like everything that they're gearing up for is to make sure 2021 never happens again. Like that's what
right.
they're gearing up for. And I'm with it. A lot of people have a problem with the wide receiver position. And I'm not saying like, oh, there's no merit to that because yeah, there is. You want to have the best players at every spot on the team. If you root for a team, you want them to have the best players at every spot. And you want them to be deep and you also want them to have talent. But at the same time, if I have to sacrifice a Hollywood Brown and then get a center, I'm going to do that because I have to protect the franchise. And the franchise is Lamar. We've had 2 seasons now where Lamar ends up hurt at the end of the game or at the last year in the Cleveland game. So we can't have that. He's the franchise. He is, he wherever he goes, that's the way the franchise goes. So protect him, and then let's trust these young guys that we have in the wide receiver room. The Duvernay, the Tylan Wallace, Rashad Bateman. Obviously, we got Mark Andrews too. Let's trust those guys, but let's make sure that offensive line is solidified so that Lamar doesn't ever have to, be hurt or be running for his life, and we can also have the run game too.
Right. And it's not just about protection, as I mentioned, it's about production. Making life a little easier on Lamar, not having him have to wear himself out every single game after game after game after game. I mean, no matter how good a shape you're in, Chris, that kind of stuff catches up with you. You're not going to be able to save the day every time. So, yeah, props to Eric DeCosta, in my opinion. And like you said, you want the best players at every position. I hope they go out there and get a superstar receiver too. Make it harder on the coaches. Make the competition breed each other. Put your coaches to make the toughest good decisions that you can make. What do they call it? Good decisions? Tough decisions, but good decisions. I'm missing the lingo in here, but yeah, make it tough on Harbaugh, man. Give him so much darn talent that he's going to be like, man, who's going to be inactive? Man, I gotta inactivate this guy. Shoot, man. He'd be starting on every other team. That's the kind of team as a GM you want to build. So Chris, thank you so much. Why don't you tell people what's going on over there with MC and Carrie? Had Carrie on, by the way. Good guy, bro.
I saw that. And Carrie, we were talking yesterday. We're gonna start our own ice cream business, Chris and Carrie's.
Okay. It's like Ben and Jerry's, Chris and Carrie's.
Better than Ben and Jerry's.
All right, good.
Everything homemade, all natural ingredients.
You know what? That's right. I saw you making ice cream with the girls. So I'm guessing the ice cream turned out well.
Yeah, it did. I got to practice a little more, but it was healthy, so we're good.
That's how I felt. I tried to brew beer one time, Chris, and I was like, I took it over to a friend's house, and there was people there, and I was proud of my beer, and I gave it to one of my friends' girlfriends, and I'm like, here, try this, and she drank it, and she was like, oh, it did this, right? It turned out that it had one of those, like, how you put oranges or like limes or whatever it is It was like a texture thing, bro. She had like a little shard of lime or pulp or whatever that got in it, made her sick. So that was the end of my my beer making, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, hopefully the ice cream business goes better.
Yeah. You got to get yourself a truck too, bro. A truck, like a food truck.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, man. I'm gonna get with Carrie. We're gonna plan this out.
All the way from New York City to North Kakalaki. Chris and Carrie. Yep. And MC, you can come meet him in the middle. He's down our way in Baltimore. Stop by, give me some ice cream, bro. Milkshakes. Maybe you can.
I don't know. I got to see if Mike is game for the ice cream business. Not everybody's built for the ice cream business, so I got to see what's up with him.
He ain't. No, he's not built for the ice cream business. I'm sure that's what he'll tell you. He'd need like a little tape room, little all 22 in there, film room in the back. So yeah, check out Chris, Mike, Carrie, Deep Cover Pod. Link below. You probably know Chris. He's support. Thank you for all your support, man. Seriously, on this channel and my family, brother.
No doubt, man. Thank you for having me on, man. You're one of the good guys here, so anytime you need me, you already know I'm always there.
All right, man. Well, hey, we're gonna do another round. We got to do another round before the season starts. So, have me on the Deep Cover. I have you on here. Do some collaborations, and we'll get ready for the season, man. It's blue skies ahead, Chris. Blue skies ahead. The coaching and the scheme and all that. Like we're at each other's throats out there as Ravens fans. But you look at the roster, man. It's a pretty darn good roster. So, I mean, it's the Lamar Jackson era in Baltimore, Chris. It's time to get excited for the season, brother. It's
yes, sir.
That's what it's all about. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to our football family. Love my football family. Thank you guys for watching. We'll have a tight end show coming up soon with Ken McCusick. So we're going to keep this positional series rolling. Chris, thank you so much. Time to say goodbye to people now.
Peace. Thank you.